Okay. Hello, it's been a while. We're just going to get started though. I got an iPhone 10 here. I'm going to do a live repair of no power. So, no power, of course. Plug it into USB. Get about 0.28, 0.30 amps. Plug it into the computer. It's not recognized in DFU, not recognized in recovery. Nothing going on. The battery is at 0.0 volts. And when I plug it up to the DC power supply, it pulls about 620 milliamps. I have a theory on this, but we're gonna just kind of go through it together and see if I'm right. I'll go ahead and tell you my theory. I believe it's going to be VDD boost. And that's only because I checked VDD main already and it's not short. I would have said maybe main, but pulling anything through the dot connector is going to kind of rule out VDD main. If you got a main power rail short, it's usually going to show zeros across the board everywhere. So I think it's VDD boost. So the diagnostic process when you get a phone with no power, first thing to do, plug it into a charger, and you should have an amp meter on your charger so you can see if it's telling you anything. And over time you'll start to see different patterns. So for instance, in this case, it's pulling something, not nothing. 0.3 though, and no power. So at 0.3, I know it's not attempting to charge the battery. Something is going through the charging port, but not enough to really even prompt it to boot. So the next step would be to test for TriStar, or in this case, Hydra. So I plugged in the smart mod. It passed, by the way. Smart mod passed. So after that, smart mod pass, no power, dead battery. So that's the next thing you check, is unplug the battery and see if it has voltage on it. If you have a flat dead battery with 0 volts, you know something drew it down to that, because when a battery dies and the phone turns off, it's not sitting at 0 volts. It's sitting at something under 3.7, 3.5. That's what the phone considers a dead battery. And once it's powered off, it's not drawing any more current through it. So battery's not going to just die down to 0 volts on its own unless you leave it sitting for many months, maybe years. So if you got 0, 0 on your battery, something pulled it down. So that would be a short circuit. Okay, I'm using this thing to split my iPhone 10 boards. This thing, I'm not crazy about it. There's definitely better ones out there. This one's got a minimum temperature of 200°C, which is higher than the melting point of, what's the melting point of what unleaded solder should be? No, leaded solder is around 180, so I think unleaded solder is normally around 220, but it's close enough to where it's kind of in the danger zone. So I'm going to keep a real close eye on it while it sits in here. That says 98 or 1.98. 101. There we go. But eventually this entire thing will warm up to the point where you can pull it off of there. In the meantime, let's look around at the diagram. Let's see if we can figure out where to probe for boost. Boost is created around, this is Hydra. No, boost is, here we go. That was the baseband side. Okay, so here's Hydra. EDD boost is created by this. So the other side is that. Is there anywhere to test on the top side before we split it? That would be nice. There is, but it's underneath this soldered shield. So I don't believe that's going to be eligible. Start putting heat on that shield to desolder it. It's just going to pull the board halves apart anyway. So I guess we'll split it. I'm betting it'll be one of these 5 or 6 caps. Only because seen those type of symptoms before. Let's see how this is going. It's starting. So we got our temperature up to 200. Now the paste that holds these board halves together melts considerably lower than the rest of the solder. So this is still a rather safe way to do it. But at 200 it's close. I can see my factory flux is starting to boil out of there, so this thing ought to come off pretty soon. There we go. Okay. The board is split. Let's get it off of there. Let's put it on a holding fixture now. Okay. So I'm guessing VDD boost, just for the sake of trying to be quick and make some money. Let's test that one first. So we need a good ground, which should be anywhere on the outer ring here. Hot dog. Okay, so that circuit is short. Now let's try and figure out why. And wonder if we can make an educated guess. These two look gnarly, but mostly just because I've been poking at them. You know what? Let's just inject right there. We'll find out real quick. Just try and inject on like one or two of these. That's great. We're only injecting on one of them that way. Okay, power supply set at 4.2 volts and 3 amps. We need to give it a ground, I guess, too. Right by one of those spacer discs here. I don't want to mess that up. Okay, DC power supply, you're just gonna have to take my word for it. It's pulling 2.2 amps, so we ought to get some heat somewhere. I hear it. I see it. You see it? See that one that's staying super dry? That is our short. That was a really conveniently located short, a nice conveniently completely full short to ground cap that sizzles when the alcohol hits it. Doesn't get any better than that. Only if it was on the top side of the board so I didn't have to split the thing. Let's get this off of there. Pretty confident we're not going to need this anymore. And get this bad cap out here. Wow, I don't know what that is on the end of my X-Acto knife, but that is nasty looking. Okay. And since I am professional repairman, I will replace the cap. I'm pretty confident this phone would work just fine for many years without this cap, as long as no other major issues present themselves, but I sleep better at night knowing I put the right cap back on it. So let's find, this is going to be like C3796. You want to know? don't look at this board. This is a donor board for obvious reasons. Okay, so we got that. We got this. Okay, and we just need to put this there. We'll double check it and give it some love. Oops, I think I just put a iPhone 6 board back in my iPhone 7 board box. Oops. Capacitor is not grateful for its relocation. This outboard side is ground, it's going to be more difficult, especially with a tiny iron tip. Let's do it this way. Got a bridge. No good deed goes unpunished. That's what they said. The flux is coming out fast. Well, that glare, not making it pretty. Okay, so let's just do this one more time. Make sure we're still in the clear on here. 358 on VDD boost. That's good news. Let's make this beautiful again. I don't want to get all that thermal paste off of the CPU. I just want to try and reuse as much of that as I can. Splitting these iPhone 10 boards is enough of a pain. We did it. We got this one apart clean enough where I really think we can just go ahead and reuse all the solder balls that are on there and make sure all the spacers are in place, which makes it easier on my part to put it back together, because you can just kind of clamp it together with your tweezers while you warm it up. Okay. Thermal compound, just stay put. Just stay put. Alright. So we're just going to inspect all of this real quickly. All about just reusing these balls. If you don't disturb them, just reuse the same ones. Everything's there. So the little discs I'm talking about, here's one right here. See how here's a pad, and here's a pad. This is a little metal disc that's sitting there. So if you squish this, it'll squish all the solder out, but it won't squish past the thickness of this little disc. So they place these all around the perimeter, just every so often. One there, one there, one here, one here, one here. It's a little offside, but it'll work its way right back where it needs to be once we warm it back up. And right here next to where we were working, I'm not worried about this pad. It's a ground pad. The whole outside edge is ground, so if we're missing one, I'm just gonna trust that the phone can survive. So yeah, we don't have any discs. So sometimes these will turn up sideways. I like to just flatten them back out if necessary. But I think we're good to go. So I remove with the plate that I've been reinstalling with the hot air. This is one of those cats, there's more than one way to skin. I don't know if there is a best method yet. This is the most annoying part of working on any iPhone 10. I suppose I could put it in the eye socket and test it again, but I'm quite confident that clearing that boost short is going to bring us back to life on this one. So they do give you a nice little gold ledge on the spacer all the way around the edge. So if you can see that gold, you're not lined up right. So I'm just gonna nudge that way, nudge it this way, like so. Got my hot air. I set the hot air a bit lower than I would do for VGA work, just because this is a lower melt solder. I want to just try and warm the whole thing up evenly. I'm not going to put it all down at the same time. I've heard it mentioned that you can get it to float like a BGA chip. I cannot, or I have not seen that at least. So I'm just going to do one section at a time. So I'm holding the board with tweezers and applying heat. So I'm still applying clamping pressure on it. I've got it kind of pinned on each end, so I can really just go around the edges now and get the thing soldered together. I'm not saying this is the best way. This is my most consistent way, though. So you can actually clamp down a little bit. This edge can be tricky. I think we got it. Actually, a good way to test if you got this edge is to probe your digitizer connector. So if you look, when you go back to the 10, so if you look at your digitizer connector, almost every single one of these goes through a resistor or filter and then comes back up to this edge. And you shouldn't get open lines I think there's one of them on the whole connector that you can get an open line on, and it's fine. Or outside limit is what OL stands for, so we won't say open line. Beep, beep, ground, beep, 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 ground, beep, open, ground, ground, beep, 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 ground, ground, beep, beep, ground, ground, beep. I hope those are all ground. No, they're not. Alright, so we got a different issue going on here. That's a lot of... IV25 touch VDDH. Yeah, it's not supposed to be like that. I'm glad we probed it. Kind of wish we would have done that beforehand. 5B25 touch VDDH goes where on this board? Here. And here. That doesn't seem right. That's not right. Shit. One, two, three. That was giving me ground. 1BO racer. 1, 2, 3. That's ground. 1BO racer should not be giving us ground though. So bad soldering on here, unless you're way, way off, should not give you short to ground. Could be slightly off though. It could be, if it's too far this way. Well, I guess back to the hot plate. Cut out some of that background noise. Yeah, it might be slightly off alignment. I hope that's all it is. I guess we'll test the theory of reassembling with the hot plate. Heating element. This is also why a very common post-repair issue or post-assembly issue on the 10 is going to be lack of touch. So all those issues going on with the digitizer connector, they all go through this board here. So let's be honest, it was probably me. I'm hopeful that it was me. Yeah, the whole thing is definitely shifted to the right more than it should be from this view. So you'll notice the entire outer ring is all ground on this. This entire outer ring here. So if we have this just ever so slightly that far over and it's touching ground, that would explain why we're getting a ground reading on those pins on the digitizer connector. Just waiting for this to warm up. There we go. Perfect alignment. Do this really gently, but maybe, hopefully, we'll lose all those ground readings. That's great. Okay, I'm now using the plate to both remove and reinstall the top half of the board on the 10. Yep, ground, ground, ground. Yeah, 3 grounds, that's what we got. We're good. I'm going to be incredibly gentle with this because that plate's going to stay good and warm well after we're done with it. Alright, let's look around here one more time. This edge ends more. This is fine, this is all good. It's attached. Let's put it in the phone. Okay, and now for the moment of truth. I don't know if you can see that. Barely. Okay, 0.16, 0.19, 0.4, 0.49, battery charging indicator. Start fast forward now. Okay, well, we have a ding. So, phone is back on, up and running. Touch operates. I need to get in touch with my customer, find out the passcode. We can test everything, make sure it's good to go. But there you have it. BDD boost. Draws down the battery, prevents the phone from being able to charge or power on. Very similar to a VCC main short, just a slightly different presentation initially. But that's it. Oh yeah.